Mr. Speaker, the Liberal-appointed board member on the Asian Infrastructure Bank just resigned, calling it a cesspool and saying that it was controlled by, quote, the Communist Party crowd who operate like a secret police. Who could have seen this coming? Who could have predicted that a bank structured to give Beijing effective control would use the bank to expand the power and influence of the communist regime in Beijing? Who could have possibly seen that coming? Right. Conservatives, that's who. We warned these liberals not to put tax dollars into the scam of a bank. So when are they getting our money back?
Yes.
Speaker, as the Deputy Prime Minister said yesterday, and as I said in this House yesterday, related to this matter, the Government of Canada will immediately halt all government-led activity at the bank, and she has instructed the Department of Finance to lead an immediate review of the allegations raised and of Canada's involvement at the AIIB. The Canadian government will also be discussing this issue with our allies and partners who are members of the bank. The review is to be undertaken expeditiously. No outcome is being ruled out following this investigation.
Mr. Speaker, nobody likes an I told you so, except for everyone who told you so.
Yeah.
It wasn't just conservatives, it was our major security partners like Japan and the United States and foreign affairs experts who all said the same thing, that the communist regime would use the bank to bully developing countries and expand its power and influence. This bank built railways and ports with taxpayers' dollars while Canadians here at home are struggling just to pay the bills. So now that the con has been exposed, will they do the right thing and get Canadians their tax dollars back?
Mr. Speaker, same question, same answer. As we said yesterday in this House, and as the Deputy Prime Minister has been very clear, we have ceased all government-led activities with the AIIB. We have asked Finance to conduct an immediate investigation into the activities of the bank. This investigation is to be undertaken expeditiously, and no outcome is being ruled out from this outcome.
And it wasn't just Andrew Scheer, Tom Kimmich. We can just even pull the tweet up years ago, making clear that this is problematic. He said, I warned the federal Liberals at Finance Committee years ago that joining the AIIB was furthering the foreign policy interests of Beijing communists. There you go. This is yet more proof that conservatives had it right years ago in opposing joining the AIIB. Drea, how symptomatic is this? And we'll talk about sort of the commitments to cease activities. But it just seems every 2 weeks there's some new absurd connection between Trudeau's government and communist-influenced Chinese connections. What do you think?
It's insane. You're right. It's like birthing pains is getting more and more because it used to pop up, a couple of times a year. But you're right. It's every 2 weeks. And I think we're just scratching the surface because I think there's been so much getting away with in this area. There needs to be investigations on any sign of anything that smells like interference at this point. And I'm even going to take it back to the school system, too, with the Confucius Institutes. We've done some reports on that as well, but I'm just saying the influence is so broad and in so many areas that we really need to tackle. Like Andrew Scheer said, we told you so. So now it's time to act and we got to figure it out. But I think it's been benefiting, the people on the throne a little bit too much. And now they're just sort of reacting and to everything that gets exposed on that day.
Well, I think that they really just think Canadians aren't going to look into this and they're going to get away with this. I remember a couple of years ago, it was like, like $1 billion missing on infrastructure projects. Like, that's not normal. Governments used to fall on like $80,000 spending scandals. Now, McKenna's like, we can't find this $1 billion. The other thing that's incredibly interesting here is I actually have an interview coming up with Marco Navarro-Eugeni of the Haltane Research Institute, and he breaks down, you can go back to the national defense threat that was the truckers and how quickly the government mobilized against them while Chinese police stations were operating here. Yeah. There was donations coming en masse from a Chinese community within BC to the Montreal constituency office of Justin Trudeau. Election interference. It goes on and on and on. They are so intimately married to them. And then it always seems to be like someone, we're going to have David Johnson, a Trudeau board member and a longtime member, friend of the Trudeau family. He's going to look into it. The other thing that I found interesting too here, and I don't know if there's some sort of one sort of governor is appointed from each country and it tends to review from the government. There could be nothing to this. But if you go to the AIIB Board of Governors, you can find Chrystia Freeland's name there. So that
surprise.
You think these people might have enough jobs? She's on the board for the World Economic Forum. She's apparently on the board, according to their website, for the AIIB. You'd think as deputy prime minister there'd be enough to do, but it seems that the enough to do is basically placating and accommodating the absurd wants and demands of the Chinese government.
Exactly. Like, when is she finding time to do her job that we all pay her to do? And that's, we should definitely dig into that further, but it's not surprising to me at all to see Freeland is on there. Good catch.
Yeah. How can this be, and how are there still, we're going to talk later on towards the end about how Canadians want a new prime minister, but how can it be that people are still going along with this? People are willing to turn a blind eye. They're willing to pretend the Conservatives are supervillains when this stuff is going on. We're talking about a Chinese regime that is one of the biggest human rights violators. And then it goes beyond that. These people, all they talk about is the climate and human rights and gay rights and all this other stuff. All their business, everything they do accommodates a regime that is completely opposed to all of those things. Canada's pollution contribution is borderline negative with the amount of trees we have. If our entire population disappeared, nothing would change. Meanwhile, you look at countries like China, India, that are the mass producers. Like, every time we shut down a coal factory, they make 8 of them and they have kids working in them. It's surreal. And there's such a disconnect.
There is. And when you ask, like, how is this happening? My theory on that, it has a lot to do with where people get their information from. So you have a lot of people that don't follow the news, number one, but it's kind of like that marketing where they say the average person has to see something 7 times before they want to buy it. So when a scandal like this happens, it's sort of contained for those who read the news and whatever the, state preferred media will cover of it. But then everything else is drowned out. Like you said, the green agenda or whatever, they hear that 7 times over and over, whether they're just scrolling on social media, it pops up in all these different ways. So it's that the truth and the concerns over this issues just get drowned out by messaging of the actual agenda.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.